Here's something nobody tells you when you're young. The kind of intelligence that gets tested in school, the quick thinking, the fast processing, the ability to memorize a formula and spit it back out. That's not the only kind of intelligence that exists. And it's arguably not even the most powerful kind. There's another form. One that doesn't peak at 25, one that doesn't fade when you stop pulling all-nighters, one that actually grows the older you get. If you've been living the right way, it's called crystallized intelligence. And if you've ever felt like you think differently from the people around you, like your mind works on a deeper level, like you connect dots others can't even see, there's a very real chance you have more of it than most. Here are 8 signs that you do. But before we get into the signs, let's quickly establish what we're actually talking about. Because this isn't just a feel-good concept, this is hard science. Psychologist Raymond Cattell identified 2 types of intelligence in 1963. Fluid intelligence is raw cognitive speed, pattern recognition, working memory. It peaks in your mid-20s and gradually declines. Crystallized intelligence is the accumulated knowledge, judgment, and skill built through experience. It lives in long-term memory. It deepens with time. Research published in Neurobiology of Aging confirms it can keep growing well into your 60s and 70s. Most of society is obsessed with fluid intelligence, speed, youth, quick answers. But crystallized intelligence is what solves the hard problems, the ones requiring context, nuance, and wisdom. Sign 1. You connect new information to what you already know. When most people encounter something new, they build understanding from scratch. You don't. Your brain immediately cross-references, pulling threads from things you read years ago, experiences you've had, patterns you've already recognized. New information slots in rather than sitting there, isolated. Cognitive psychologists call this schema-based learning. Your existing mental frameworks act like scaffolding. New knowledge attaches quickly and firmly. If you've ever picked up a new subject and thought, wait, this is basically the same principle as something I already know, that's crystallized intelligence doing exactly what it's built to do. Sign 2. You're exceptionally good at reading people. This doesn't feel like intelligence in the traditional sense, but it absolutely is. Reading a room, sensing when something is off before anyone says a word, knowing whether someone is being genuine or performing. These aren't mystical gifts. They're the result of thousands of hours of accumulated social data being processed below the surface. Research from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology shows that social pattern recognition improves significantly with age and experience. Every conversation, every relationship, every conflict, all of it has been quietly training your brain. If people consistently come to you for advice, not because you're the loudest voice, but because you see things clearly, this is why. Sign 3. You think in principles, not just facts. Someone with lower crystallized intelligence memorizes facts. Someone with high crystallized intelligence extracts the principle behind the fact and applies it everywhere. Knowing Rome fell due to overextension is a fact. Recognizing that any system expanding faster than it can sustain itself becomes fragile. And seeing that pattern in businesses, relationships, and your own life, that's wisdom. And wisdom is crystallized intelligence in its most refined form. Psychologist Paul Baltes found that wise individuals consistently applied general principles across wildly different domains, not just smart in one area, transferably smart. If you naturally look for the underlying rule rather than just the surface answer, you're operating from a deep well of crystallized intelligence. Sign 4. You're comfortable with complexity and contradiction. Younger minds, or minds with less accumulated experience, tend to be uncomfortable with ambiguity. They want a clear answer, a definitive side. But most real situations are layered. Most real people are contradictory. Most real answers are, it depends. Developmental psychologist Klaus Riegel called this dialectical thinking. the ability to recognize that truth is often found in the tension between opposites. His research showed this capacity develops with age and experience, not raw IQ scores. If you've stopped needing everything to be black and white, if you can genuinely hold two opposing ideas without it feeling like weakness, that's a hallmark of crystallized intelligence. And it's rarer than you think. Sign 5. Your communication is unusually precise. Crystallized intelligence shows up directly in verbal ability. Not just vocabulary size, but the precision with which you use language. People with high crystallized intelligence choose words carefully. They notice when a word is almost right but not quite. They can explain complex ideas simply and simple ideas with depth, because they understand concepts well enough to translate them. Research consistently shows verbal fluency is one of the strongest measurable predictors of crystallized intelligence. Language is a direct window into how organized and layered your thinking actually is. Sign 6. You extract real lessons from failure. Everyone experiences failure. Not everyone processes it the same way. People with high crystallized intelligence have developed what researchers call reflective capacity. The ability to step back, analyze what happened without excessive self-blame, extract the lesson, and genuinely integrate it going forward. A study in psychological science found that people who engaged in structured reflection after failures showed significantly greater improvement than those who simply moved on. The reflection built something. It added to the crystallized store. This is why some people get wiser with every setback while others just accumulate bitterness. The difference isn't what happened to them, it's what they did with it. Sign 7. You have deep expertise in at least one area. Crystallized intelligence tends to concentrate rather than spread thin. Cognitive scientist Anders Ericsson's research on expertise showed that deep domain knowledge fundamentally changes how the brain perceives in that area. Experts don't just know more facts, they see differently. They notice patterns invisible to the untrained eye. And that depth transfers. The habits of mind built through deep expertise, patience, nuance, comfort with complexity, show up everywhere else in your thinking. If there's a subject you've spent years genuinely immersed in, not because you had to, but because you couldn't help yourself, that's not just a hobby. That's the engine of your crystallized intelligence. Sign 8. People much younger and older than you. Both relate to you. People with high crystallized intelligence aren't locked into the perspective of their own age group. They connect with someone 20 years younger because they remember what it felt like to be there. And they connect with someone 20 years older because they've developed the reflective depth that usually only comes with age. Psychologist Erik Erikson's work on adult development links this cross-generational empathy to genuine wisdom. A real investment in understanding human experience beyond your own immediate circle. If you've ever been told you seem wise beyond your years, or if older people treat you as a peer, your crystallized intelligence is showing. The world measures intelligence in ways that favor the young. Speed, novelty, quick recall. And if you've ever felt like your mind works differently, more slowly, but more deeply, there's a reason for that. Crystallized intelligence doesn't announce itself. It quietly accumulates. In every book you've read, every hard conversation you've sat with, every failure you turned into understanding. And unlike almost every other cognitive ability, it doesn't peak and fade. It grows. If this felt less like a list and more like a mirror, subscribe. This channel exists for exactly the kind of person who made it to the end of this video.